There's just so much, to share about it, because if we don't know the deeper history about what happened in 1952 with this unconditional surrender agreement, this is not surrender to Germany, that happened at the end of the war. This is the Nazis, which broke away from the Germans.
Laura Eisenhower with us. Thank you for coming back.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Niky.
Given your Eisenhower family's history and your own commitment to the well-being of humanity, what are your thoughts on Trump's presidency and the directions he's taken the country? Do you believe that President Eisenhower's vision for a better world aligns with the current leadership of Trump?
A bit of a showdown of forces. The deep state isn't gone. I mean, we see this with the LA fires, South Carolina now. Directed energy weapons are still being used. The skies are still being sprayed. I mean, there's so many layers to all of this. I do feel this administration is taking us in a better direction. Robert Kennedy Jr. calling out, we're seeing, changes with fluoride being removed from the water. I mean, the changes have been coming, and it's very encouraging to see that. But then you see things that are confusing. I mean, we have to understand that in 1952, there was an unconditional surrender agreement under Truman, and every president since has been not owned by the deep state, but under its influence. And you either battle that influence, you succumb to it, or you are owned and groomed and engineered by it. And they have many individuals that are representatives of, their darker agenda, which I believe Trump is not. Eisenhower wasn't either. So I feel a vibrational match in a lot of ways with Eisenhower's administration and Trump's. I had never voted before until Trump came along. Everything changed as far as how I felt with the frequency. It was different than the Republicans and Democrats of the Bushes, the Clintons, and Obama, and everybody that came before. Reagan is different, but Kennedy too. But and Carter. I mean, the thing is, there's a lot that president does, the position of presidency, that has nothing to do with what they want to do. There's a political party called the deep state and shadow government that exists beneath it that are really pulling the strings, or like holding the greater power, that if you were to stand up against it, you could possibly be assassinated, right? So we see that. It's not easy for Donald Trump to just go in there and take down the deep state. He's already targeted. He's been targeted. They know that that's what he's there for. So I feel that there's a lot covering up a much, much deeper war, a much deeper layer of what's really, really going on. There's always a constant strategy to distract us away from what we should be looking at. So a lot of the things that are happening on the world stage that are creating a lot of conquer and divide about what he's doing or not doing is almost irrelevant, because he's dismantling something that goes so deep that we're not going to get all the information about where we are currently with all of that. But I'm going to be finding out more, and I'll be talking about it more as I continue to talk to the senior advisor to the Earth Alliance about what is going on. He did say Trump is heading the White Hats. But so much of my great grandfather, we see where, their hands might be tied, or where there's those individuals that will act like they're on your side and on the side of your administration and what those visions are, but they're actually not. I mean, it's not an easy position for him to be in, but I really feel we're on a good trajectory, though. There's just so much, to share about it, because if we don't know the deeper history about what happened in 1952 with this unconditional surrender agreement, this is not surrender to Germany, that happened at the end of the war. This is the Nazis, which broke away from the Germans, that are connected to the Dracos and the ICCs, the Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate, which basically has infiltrated every pillar of society. So all these pillars of society are swamps that need to be drained. History, the school systems, and even religions that have turned into cults that have really dark underbellies. Rings, the underground operations that are, taking place. there are active military units and forces that are, taking it down, but it's up to us to dismantle the programming so we're not turning a blind eye. And that's how you rid the planet of a parasitic government, is by not consenting anymore. So it's a multi-level war. And I've learned a lot about what Eisenhower set up to counteract the unconditional surrender agreement under Truman. And this outer barrier was put in place in 2014. That would have been the year that a fake alien invasion would have happened, where we would have been sold off in mass numbers to further enslavement, with a surface population of 10% just being left to repopulate and keep up this same life cycle. It's almost like a life cycle once your planetary system is invaded. And the beauty of this planet is this invasion is not going to succeed. And the right administration is in place to make sure of that. Even if you don't like what you're seeing, even if it causes a lot of division, we have to understand that there's certain layers that we're not able to see. And it's not just let go and trust and be complacent either. What can you do? What are you noticing in your communities? What are you feeling within your own being that you need to answer to instead of suppress?
Oh my God, this is such
Happy Mardi Gras, you guys.
Oh, that's right.
That's right.
That's why I'm late. Yeah, and I know your dad's not doing so good, Laura. So we gotta enjoy the time with him that we have.
Totally. Yep.
And like your great grandfather, I mean, wow, what an amazing guy. And I'm sure you're saying from the book and what we have, the new information from Dan Cooper, that he was really put in a very tough position. And this is it. This is really important with UFO disclosure, because this is the dawning of our government interceding and knowing about the UFO ET reality. And it kind of started with Truman, who made the surrender to the Antarctica Nazis, who were flying over the Capitol building in 1952. And then Eisenhower had to accept the terms of surrender to these Antarctica Nazis. And I'm working on my next book right now called The Secrets of Antarctica. And this is a really important piece of history that hardly anybody knows about, that these Antarctica Nazis had taken all their Honeyboo and Vril and Andromeda cigar-shaped craft down to Antarctica and South America, and this is where the Fourth Reich was set up. So it must have just burned up your great-grandfather after having been the supreme commander of the Allied forces in World War II to then be told, oh, well, now we're going to surrender to this Fourth Reich group because they have this superior technology. Then all the while, during Eisenhower's administration, he's going on those secret meetings, and they know that they have to play catch up. They know they have to get some of this technology themselves through backward engineering and finding downed craft and so forth. And this is the whole point of Area 51. And Eisenhower did not have access to it. And he says, I'm going to send in the First Army and capture Area 51 in Nevada if you don't let me in. I mean, so this is how deep this whole thing goes, way back at the dawn of the UFO era. And so now, playing fast forward, Laura, I mean, we're kind of getting to the point where we should have been during the Eisenhower administration, and that is making disclosure for this incredible technology and the presence of ETs on this planet the whole time along.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Just having to counteract it too by setting up the Earth Alliance and appealing to the Guardians with the help of Val 4. Yeah, this is all coming to light finally. And the most important thing is that we, the people, understand that we're the most important technology, really, on a biological level, winning the war through not allowing the mind control and the psyops and the false flags and all the different mechanisms used to, hook us into artificial timelines, where all this, needs to stop. And I was talking to Dan Cooper today, and he was talking about the outer barrier being put around the planet in 2014, which was the same year they planned the fake alien invasion.
Oh.
And when we hear about the possibility of it happening, this is almost just going back to the blue beam technology, knowing that they have it, thinking, is that the next card they're going to pull out of their bag? But they can't. They can't, not with this outer barrier. Most of the tactics that they're using are not about the original intent, which was to enslave us or remove 90% of us and hand us over to the Draco, is what he's saying. It's a lot different now. I think we're seeing it all come to the surface with the Diddy list, the Epstein list, and negotiations where the particular individuals that are being held accountable to protect their reputation, there'll be some sort of news story about them that won't reveal the depth of maybe what they were involved with, because they might have been blackmailed, or there's something going on about this process of bringing things to justice that we're just not seeing, is I guess my point. So yeah, this disclosure of these greater technologies, like you're saying, and I can't wait to see what you're going to share in your next book. These are really, important pieces. What do you feel about disclosure now? Like,
well, even the Diddy list and the Epstein client list, this is disclosure that this whole empire honeypot operation has been going on right under our noses for many years, many decades. It said that over 90% of our that they have dirt on them, and you really don't rise to power unless they have control over you, and the way they control you is to get you in some kind of compromising position. The easiest way is with some kind of and then they got you, and you will vote the way they want you to vote, and you'll go along with it, and you'll cover up for things they don't want known. So disclosure is really about uncovering this whole deep state apparatus and all the things they've held from us, including the UFO reality. So this is just one big part of it. But Laura, you mentioned Dan Cooper said that they put the screen around the Earth. That's like the quarantine of the planet, right? Where no ships can come in and out.
It's buffering us somehow. It's not like the quarantine prison planet that we've already been in with the net or the reversal grid technologies, but more a buffer to keep any more from coming in and leaving them no option but to be exposed because they can't leave, right? So the fake alien invasion, those technologies I think are already here, but they were able to buffer something. I think it has to do with the satellite technology and just something that would have been a major manipulation, because a lot of craft would have landed. I asked him, like, what would that have looked like? A lot of craft landing and just taking people away. So there's the terraforming and the takeover on the Earth level, but there's what took place in 1929. He was saying that's when the abductions began. It wasn't even for technology trade. It was for it was some agreement with the Galactic Federation of Worlds for them to begin to colonize Mars, Moon, Saturn, and all these other places, to really get involved, which then morphed it into the interplanetary corporate conglomerate. But all their plans have failed because of this outer barrier. And thank you for asking, because I'm going to really get into that explanation of what that is.
I know you have a meeting. Thank you for coming to my channel. Please come back anytime.
I appreciate it. Well, thanks so much. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, Laura.
Bye.